might say that I'm a loner, but I just call it being free. I am my heart's only owner, or at least I used to be. 'Cause now...
Hey everyone, I'm Calvin with Southern Country Living, and for today's video I'm going to be cooking a pepper steak stir fry, and I'm specially preparing this for Marie because she really loves pepper steak. The recipe calls for using 1 pound of round steak, but what I'm going to be doing, since it's just me and Marie, I'm only going to use half of the steak, and I'm only going to use, it calls for 2 bell peppers, but I'm only going to use 1. And so I'm basically cutting the main ingredients in half, that way there won't be too much left over, and we'll have some of this steak left over for another meal that we can do later. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I've got my butter in the skillet. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on to about 2 and let that butter start melting. And while the butter's melting, I'll cut up some of this steak. And we had to get this steak at Walmart. We don't normally buy a lot of steak from Walmart. We prefer going to our local Piggly Wiggly store. But today was a little different. We had to do a little grocery run. And so we went to Walmart and did a grocery pickup and got it from there. So the steak looks like it's about a little over a ½ inch thick, and I'm going to cut it in little narrow strips. And I'm using this knife. This is one of the Pioneer Woman's knives that one of our viewers had sent us last year as a gift. And this is real nice. It cuts good. Okay, let me get all this cut in fairly thin strips. It recommends cutting it about 1/4 inch, and that should be about what I've got here. That one ended up being a little bit thicker. This piece was a little tricky to cut because it was so narrow. After I get all this cut up, I'm going to put this in the skillet and let it cook and simmer with the lid over it. And the recipe calls for cooking it for 30 minutes. But sometimes you have to cook it a little bit longer to get the meat to be as tender as you want it to be. So while I do it in the 30 minutes, I'll test a piece of it and see how it tastes and how tender it is. And if I need to, I'll let it go for a little bit longer. Okay. So let's see, the butter is starting to melt down good. I'm going to go ahead and put the beef in there. Okay, I'm back. I got my hands washed. I'm going to turn the heat up on this to about a 3. That's about halfway through. Okay, I'll go on up to a 4. Let it start heating up. I'm going to add some garlic to it. And we like using just the minced garlic. I'm going to put about 2 spoonsful in there. once it gets started browning, I'm going to add some of this beef broth to it. Go ahead and pour some out. I'm going to add at least a cup. I might put a little bit more. Okay, see if it's starting to heat up yet. It's just now starting to melt the butter good, so get that garlic spread out so the garlic can start browning also. Okay, I can feel the heat off of it now, so it is starting to warm up and it's starting to brown just a little bit, so I'll go ahead and stir it till it gets brown pretty good. Okay, I've got that browned pretty good now, so I'm going to go ahead and add some beef broth to it. And it's probably going to take it a few minutes to come back up to heat, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it and I'm going to let it simmer for at least 30 minutes. And like I said, I will test it at the end of 30 minutes. While this is simmering and getting ready, I'll go ahead and slice up my vegetables to go in it also. So I'll be back with you. It'll just be a few seconds in your time, but it'll be 30 minutes for me. So I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, this has came up to a boil now, and so I'm going to reduce the heat just a little bit, and I'm going to let it simmer for 30 minutes. Okay, and while that's simmering, I'm going to start cutting up my peppers. And like I said, I'm only going to use half of a pepper, so I'll save that other half for another recipe. And I got to admit, I love this knife. It is very sharp. It does a very good job of cutting. Okay, there's my red peppers. Okay, and there's my green peppers. I'll go ahead and cut this piece here up too, because it's perfectly good to put in there with it. Okay, so as soon as this gets tender, I'll be back with you and we'll finish up the recipe. Okay, my steak should be done now. I did go ahead and let it cook for 45 minutes instead of just the 30. When I tested it at 30, it was still just a little tough. So I let it go for 45 minutes. Now I'm going to add in my vegetables. I did chop up about 3 green onions to go in also. So I've got green onions. I've got some red peppers and some green peppers. So let me stir these in a little bit. I tell you, this sure does look good, and it is just smelling wonderful. I'm loving how this is smelling. And what I'll do now, I'm going to cover it back up and let it continue to cook for about 5 more minutes to get these peppers good and soft. Okay, so I'll be back with you in just a minute. Okay, my vegetables have been cooking now for 5 minutes in there, and they look like they're tender. So next step I'm going to do, I'm going to take 1/4 cup of water, and I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch. And I guess that steam made that cornstarch stick a little bit. And then I'm going to take, you can either use soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce, and I'm going to use Worcestershire. And about 1/4 cup. And this is just going to be to thicken it up, make it have a real good sauce. Okay, that should be enough. Stir it up real good here. Okay, I'm going to let it cook for about maybe a couple more minutes, and I'm going to keep it stirred until it starts to thicken up. Okay, that didn't take very long at all, and I can tell the sauce is starting to thicken up. So I'm going to go ahead now and add my tomatoes to it. And this is just 1 tomato I cut into chunks. And I'm just going to lightly stir it in here. I'm going to turn the heat completely off. And I think I'm going to remove it from the heat so it won't continue to cook. I'll put it right over here, and I'm going to get us a plate and plate us up a plate and be right back with you. Okay, I've got some rice already cooked, and so I'm going to put this in my plate. And I'm just using some instant rice. You could use cauliflower rice with this, but today I'm just using regular instant rice. Okay, let me see if I can serve this out without making too big of a mess. I'll get the other spoon. It really looks good. Okay, let me get us a glass of tea. Okay, I've got this meal ready. This is what Marie had requested that I would make for her Valentine's dinner, and it really smells great. I hope it tastes half as good as it looks, Marie.
It really smells good too.
Well, thank you, Marie. Would you like?
Made it early for me, didn't you? Because on Valentine's Day we're actually going to go off.
That's right. Well, we always have to make our meals a little early so we can make them into videos and get them out before Valentine's Day. But Marie, would you like to come do a taste test on camera?
I sure would.
Come over here, let that be your plate and give it a taste test and see what you think.
Okay.
And I'm going to get me a bite of this meat and taste it first.
Okay.
Mm.
Mm. Yeah.
Is it good?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good. The meat is tender and the bell peppers are too. I can taste all those flavors in there, the onion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it's got some Worcestershire sauce in it.
It does have Worcestershire sauce in it,
Oh.
and that little sauce with it goes good with that rice, don't it?
Mm-hmm.
Very delicious.
It's very good.
I enjoy it. Of course, Marie knew she was going to like this because she loves pepper steak, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
So if you try making this meal, let us know how it turns out for you. I will be posting the recipe, will be the full recipe if you're going to make a full pound of meat. But just bear in mind, I only used half the amount of meat and I used half of the peppers. The rest of it I used the same amount for the sauce and everything. But I really enjoyed it, Marie. I give it 5 stars.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, we hope y'all enjoyed it. Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you on our next video.
And y'all do what you love and love what you do. And like Calvin said, we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
We were young and we were free and running, never bothered about what could be coming. Every day we danced and life was smiling. We were young and drunk in love. A few years later I have started thinking, if it's just love in every glass I'm drinking, we're like one and without you I'm sinking. I'm always shining next to you. Oh, I got you, there's no reason to chasing pavement on my own, 'cause you're here to stay every night and day. I'm delighted 'cause I got you.
I have always been afraid of changes, but you show me life